Hello, welcome back. It is no bold statement, I think, to say that this is the best time of year. It's the time that a lot of crafters on YouTube look forward to, and I am also one of those people. However, I always kind of grapple with this idea of making a costume specifically for Halloween. I've talked about costumes in the past, but I don't really like to make single use or single wear items for a variety of reasons. So I want to make something that feels on theme for the season, but I also want to make sure that it is something I'm actually going to wear more than once. And the good news is I have already made this garment. And I have also already worn it once. So that is great news and bodes well for the longevity. And I'm really excited to show you. It's basically going to be a witchy sort of corset belt thing that I have been gathering images of on Pinterest for a long time, and I finally am getting around to making something. What I end up making doesn't quite look like my inspiration photos, but I really like how it turns out. It's both wearable and witchy, and I think you're really gonna like it. I'm really excited. I have this silk mesh. I've used it in the past, so I think this is gonna be the base. And over top of it, I have, I guess you would call it a jacket, but it's made of lace. And the lace itself, it's quite nice and floral, and it's not stretchy, which I think is perfect. So I think it'll be really interesting to have kind of a sheer thing, because this is gonna go on the outside of clothing, so that'll be fun. The thing about this though, it has this really nice beadwork around all of the lapel and a little bit on the cuff. They're not on here super tightly. In several spots they've come off already. So what I think I'm gonna do is, I took several pictures of this. I think I'm gonna harvest the beads. I don't have any beads. I've never done beadwork. I don't really ever do stuff like that, but I think just like the black on black on black is very cool, even though this style of jacket isn't necessarily something I would wear, but I think in the new version that I'm doing, it'll be very cool. I had hoped that if I just cut one string, a whole bunch would come off and this would be easy peasy, but that was not the case. That did happen with some parts of the motif, but it was not the case overall, and this took literally forever. Hello, it's a new day. I have gotten most of the beads. Here's my mess. And this is what I have. There's like 3 beads in here. There's one that's kind of long and oval, and there's these little round ones, and then there are not very many, but there are some of the big round ones. And it's these like tube shaped kind of sparklier ones. They're pretty cool. I think even if I don't use some of these now, I mean, I certainly can't use all of these, but I'll use them eventually. And then there are sequins, which there really were not very many of. I didn't end up trying to get all of them off. I may still do that later, but I've sort of decided that I likely won't use them. These ones and these ones, which are itty bitty teeny tubes. Anyway, these are probably not going to be in whatever design I go with in this garment. They're just a little too fiddly for me to work with. They break constantly. So in the meantime, I've just been experimenting I just tried some placements. I won't be doing this on white, but I don't know, I backed it with white just so I could see what I was doing. I have a few on here that I like. Let's see, I have 4 total, and I think although these bigger ones are nice, I'm not liking them quite as much as the 2 smaller ones in the center. So I'm not sure which of these 2 I will go with, or maybe I'll think of something else completely before I get to that point. But I do think I'm gonna lean on the smaller side and have them just kind of scattered throughout. So I'm gonna get some pieces cut out, see what kind of space I'm working with here, and then I think that'll help me determine what design. I just did the world's quickest mock-up. I'm just trying to understand if the points are in the right spot. I didn't even put boning or lacing in this because it's really not a corset. It's just for looks. I like seeing the points from the front, so I didn't want to make them too sideways, like too much on the hip. Do I like how it looks from the side then, or does it feel like it needs to be back here? Maybe not. Maybe that's okay. So just cutting out the fabric on the jacket now, and I'm leaving a really wide berth around the perimeter because I wasn't really sure how much shifting there would be when it came to assembling the layers. The chalk really wasn't showing up well at all, so I decided to thread mark all the way around with a bright colored thread. However, that wasn't working super well either. It was just a bit too flimsy, floppy, couldn't really get a crisp line, couldn't make nice corners, so I had to come up with something else. I'm going to pivot a little bit because I've done like several pieces doing the thread marking, but if you can see, it's really hard to get like a precise line, and I think I'm still gonna thread mark it, but I think I'm actually just gonna use my sewing machine and just stitch around it. I hope I can do that. I don't have tearaway paper. I think that would be like a really good thing. I do have tissue paper. I could give that a try. I'm just like worried that it's still gonna be in the seam at some point, but maybe I'll try some tissue paper. Yeah, so that didn't work very well. It did not come out of the seam, so I just tried it again without any tissue paper at all. Okay, I lowered my tension all the way down to 1, and actually that kind of worked. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do it this way. I don't even know if you can see what's going on, but I've just got an actual thread around the seam line from my actual sewing machine rather than doing it by hand, of course. This is really impossible to see. So right there. Hello. I don't want to talk about how many days it's been, but I have made some discoveries. First being that as cool as it would be to have this mesh behind the lace, I did some experimenting and the lace just really tears very easily. This is kind of a low quality lace, honestly, so rather than recut and redo everything, I think I will just save the idea of a see-through one for another time, and in this case I will just take what I have and put a more sturdy fabric behind it. So I thought I would try this black linen because it's not so light absorbing even though it's black. It has a bit of a reflective quality to it, so I think when you put the lace on top of it, you can still see it fairly well. I was doing some experimenting with some fabrics that were much more of a deeper black and you could hardly see the lace on top of it. So I think that's what I'm gonna go with. I don't want to do a color, that's just not the look I want. I want this to be a lot of like different black textures on top of each other, plus the beading will all be black, and I just think that's really what I'm trying to get out of this. So I think I will use the remainder of all these little black linen scraps. I have to piece just 2 of them together for some of the pieces, but I think that is the plan for this corset belt. Now I'm just cutting out the pieces on the linen just normally with the regular seam allowance that I had built into the pattern. And by the way, if you're wondering how I made this pattern, I basically just took the yoke that I used in my dark academia skirt pattern and just sort of extended some of the lines. Now I'm just pinning the lace to those linen pieces, and the lace still has that overly wide seam allowance, so I am using the thread marking to judge where to sew, and I'm basically just flatlining those pieces together. And then expertly captured in frame, I remove those threads from earlier. Flatlining basically just makes the 2 layers act as one piece. So once they're all flatlined together, I'm sewing them right sides together and actually assembling the corset. And once they're all assembled, I am trimming the lace down to match the actual seam allowance of the linen. And then it is just a quick press and it's time to start beading. I wanted to create a diamond pattern of 2 inches apart, and at every intersection of these lines I will be placing my beaded motif. At first, I thought I could do a large round bead at every intersection and then maybe work in one of the samples I had done earlier, but I didn't have nearly enough of the round beads, so I sort of scrapped all of those and came up with a totally different design. The beading I ended up going with was creating like an X or a cross of the long sparkly tube beads at every intersection. The one you're seeing is my very first attempt and it looks like trash, so bear with me, it gets a little bit better. But once the 4 tubes are all secured, I put one small round bead in each corner, and that kind of helps make it a little more square shaped, a little bit neater looking, so I definitely needed that. Yeah, I can redo any that look bad because they're all separate clusters, okay? And then one day, I finally had a cluster of beads at every diamond point. I decided not to add beads to the very back panels. I feared that they might catch on things or rub against a surface and fall off. I know I said at the beginning this wasn't going to be a corset, but once I decided to put the black linen in, I figured why not just make it a corset at this point? So I am cutting out my pieces in a heavyweight cotton twill. Then I made some boning channels with the ribbon because I didn't want any of the stitches on the front side. For some reason, I don't have the footage of adding the boning, but know that I have done so here, and now it is time to join the lining to the beaded lace. I basted them in place around the top edge, and I decided to bind using a layer of this black cotton twill tape with some black lace over it. The lace would not be secure enough to hold boning in, so the twill tape is necessary underneath. I attached the twill tape first and then the lace over top after. Am I annoyed that the inside is a bright white? Yes. Is anyone ever gonna see that? No, so I'll live with it. I used pre-made lacing tape because I wanted tiny, delicate grommets that my grommet press can't make. However, the lowest one was too close to the edge for the binding, so I cut them. Then I sew the binding to the bottom, and it's time for the reveal. Thank you so much for watching, and especially for making it this far. I really loved how it turned out, and I hope you did too. If you enjoyed this video, I would so appreciate you giving it a like and subscribing. I am super excited to keep making sewing content and even maybe trying some different areas of crafting as well. Bye!